schools from across the world, Indonesia, Vietnam, and Australia, reaching out to understand how this program works so that they can run it in their own curriculums in school. Now we expand the vision, the Namo Shakti Rat Breast Cancer Screening Initiative, which our Honorable Prime Minister spoke about. This is an initiative, again, of Sri Kartikeya and Dr. Aishwarya, where healthy women and empowered families, we look at prevention as key. They picked up a Guinness Book of World Records for doing the most amount of screenings in 24 hours. 20 mobile screening vans ensuring timely screening and early detection. The ITV Foundation achieved the Guinness World Record for the most AI breast screening across states in India, and this will soon become a nationwide affair. Prevention is always better than cure, and that's why it is imperative that we focus on early symptoms and then the right treatment. In collaboration, we will now integrate nutrition, lifestyle habits, and daily routines amongst all of our people across the country to strengthen the model of healthcare. We have to move from a model of sick care to healthcare and prevention, and that is absolutely the vision. So the future of healthcare begins early. Right knowledge. How many of you get all of your knowledge from Instagram and social media? Put your hands up. It's okay, put your hands up. How many of you are confused? Keep your hands up if you are. It's the same amount of hands. We don't need confusion. We need right knowledge and we need action. If there's one thing that's missing today in our country, we have a lot of information, we have a lot of knowledge, we have a lot of content, we have platforms that bring amazing people like you together. But there's one thing that's missing that is forming a major dent in our healthcare system. That is the lack of action. While you continue to learn, while you continue to absorb more information, it's extremely important to put it into action, because we only get the results of great knowledge when we add action to it. So thank you everyone for listening. I would advise all of you to invest in prevention, keep following the Bharat Nutrition Lifestyle. All of you over here, we can contribute in one way. When we unite as a country, all of us may not be doctors, nutritionists, and engineers, but we have a human heart and a human brain to share the right knowledge and share information amongst our communities and societies, so together we educate and together we enable people to move into action. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Luke, for that inspirational address, of course. And yes, as you said, you have translated a lot of your thoughts into action already. And that's what really NXT is about, isn't it? Like we mentioned in yesterday's chief guest's address. Okay, let's now move on very, very quickly. Staying with this segment of Next in Nutrition, we now will be having a panel, in fact, on Next in Nutrition. And in fact, to speak about the theme of the future of nutrition, we have a very, very holistic panel that we've drawn together for you. So I want to quickly call on stage now, one by one, all the panelists. Professor Shilpa Bhupati Raju, could we please have you on stage first? From Harvard, T.H. Chan School of Public Health, Professor Bhupati Raju, I invite you on stage. Also, joining us for this session is Dr. Shashank Joshi, endocrinologist. Dr. Joshi, welcome to NXT. Dr. Manveer Bhatia is also with us live, neurologist and sleep specialist. Dr. Manveer Bhatia, please come on to stage as well. And oncologist Dr. Garvit Chitkara also joins us now at the Bharat Mandapam in Delhi. And once again, coming back on stage to steer this conversation forward in the role this time as a moderator is holistic nutrition, integrative and lifestyle medicine expert and author Luke Coutinho. So Luke, handing the floor over to you once again.
Welcome back, everyone. Today we have this amazing panel of very, very busy experts who have taken time out of their schedules. Some of them we have a professor who's traveled in from Boston. We have doctors who have traveled in from Bombay to share the next 25 to 30 minutes with something that will help us to reimagine the way medicine, lifestyle, and nutrition now starts to work. We have a health crisis in our country right now. Is medicine treating just the symptoms, and is lifestyle fueling disease? Is our medical system fragmented? And if it is, how do we integrate it together to bring the best experts together to move from a model of illness to wellness, to have prevention before prescriptions? Before I sit today, I want us to understand that we're living in a country where we have expert doctors, we have nutritionists, we have personal trainers, we have nutrition, we have alternative medicine, but yet we're the diabetic capital of the world. Yet we have people dying from cardiovascular events when they shouldn't have. And we have cancer that's sprouting all over the country rapidly. What's going wrong? What is the problem? Is it that the medicine is not good enough? That's not true. Or is it that we're not treating lifestyle disorders? Today we have an amazing panel. I want to start off by introducing Professor Shilpa. Thank you for coming in all the way from Boston. Assistant Professor of Medicine and Nutrition, Harvard Medical School. We have Dr. Shashank Joshi, Padma Shri awardee, consultant endocrinologist at Leelavati Hospital and HN Reliance Hospital. We have Dr. Manveer, thank you so much for being here, senior neurologist and sleep specialist, Director of Neurology Sleep Center, New Delhi. And we have Dr. Garvit, Associate Director of Breast Surgical Oncology at Nanavati Max Institute Cancer Care. As you can see, we have a very diverse panel that looks at metabolic disorders and lifestyle diseases. And today, we're here to get into their brains and understand how we can all, we have a lot of medical students out here. You're here at the right time to mold your brains in a particular way that is now going to be the future of medicine. Professor Shilpa, I'll start off with you. For decades, we focused on calories, nutrients, but today we're seeing rising metabolic disease everywhere. Is it the problem of food, or is it modern lifestyles? And have we disconnected from the whole ecosystem of lifestyle and healthcare?
Thanks, Luke. It's an honor to be here. For very long, nutrition is very complex. So we've often taken a very reductionist approach. So looking at calories, from carbs, from fat, and we've actually moved away from that. We're looking at foods, and now we're looking at overall diet patterns because nobody eats a single nutrient or a single food. We eat an overall diet. And so research has really focused on looking at these dietary patterns and how they are associated with chronic disease risk. And again, food doesn't exist in a vacuum, right? So what's available to us is shaped very much by structural determinants of health. It's something that we talk quite a bit in the public health space. So, along with food, your lifestyle, how much are you moving around? What does your food environment look like, right? If you want to change diet, but the environment is backed against you, you are losing a battle, right? There's no way you can compete with, the big food giants that are pushing, marketing these ultra-processed foods on us. So I think we need to take a more systems-level approach to NCD prevention, and absolutely diet is very central to that. And of course, lifestyle, sleep. When we're in a better mood, we tend to eat healthier as well. So I think it's time for us to move away from a simple calories in, calories out, carb counting, to looking at what does my plate look like? Is it filled up with the foods that are protective? What does my overall dietary pattern look like?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that. And we also want to use the NXT platform, which is a platform for brainstorming new ideas. You mentioned the beautiful word ecosystem. While we need an ecosystem, as a country, we also need cleaner air, cleaner water, and we need to break this cycle of adulteration of food, which is also affecting our health in a big way. And because we have so many powerful minds at this session, we're hoping that these problems will eventually be solved for our country and our people. Dr. Shashank, such a pleasure to have you here. India is called the diabetic capital of the world. I know you hear this all the time. Is it purely genetic, or are we witnessing the consequences of rapidly changing lifestyles and food habits?
So, Luke, thank you for having me here, and congratulations to you and Kartika Sharma ji for this wonderful conclave. Unfortunately, we are the world's capital of diabetes, but we want to be the diabetes care and the prevention capital of the world. And you asked a very pertinent question, do we blame it all to our genes? Probably the genes load the gun, but the lifestyle pulls the trigger. So if your father or mother both have diabetes, your likelihood of getting diabetes is 90%. If one parent, it's 70%. One relative, it's 40%. But you can prevent it by appropriate lifestyle. And we are having the perfect storm. Because as we become affluent, and I call this affluenza, not the influenza, because we are in the NCD explosion, clearly as we become affluent, we become sedentary and we become physically inactive. And then we are exploded with this entire spectrum of ultra-processed foods, which are wrong foods. We eat too much. There is calorie bombs all over. And I'm mindful that, we have barriers between food for all of you all in the audience and everybody around. But clearly we eat too much. We are eating too much of carbs and fats, too little proteins. We are physically inactive. Today is the World Sleep Day, and we have a world expert in sleep here. We sleep less. We are always stressed out. So lifestyle is pulling the trigger in a perfect storm, which is not only making us put on weight, but is causing type 2 diabetes and insulin resistance. And unfortunately, over centuries, we are blessed. It's a polygenic disease. So we have the genes, the guns loaded, but the trigger is pulled by the lifestyle. And that's really the truth. And therefore, it's very, very important that we go to the root cause. And I think the root cause is in lifestyle. Because even if we are genetically predisposed and disadvantaged, there are two things. One is, on planet Earth, there are 8 billion people. 1.46 billion people live in India. Around 100 million people live with diabetes. 136 million people live with type 2 diabetes. So we are world number 2 right now. But we would like to be the world number 1, as our Honorable Prime Minister said, in care, in prevention, in policy. And I think we congratulate you and your entire team and Karthikeya ji for this next generation vision. Can we tap our resources and create and build a movement around physical activity, around mindful eating, around appropriate lifestyle, so that even if we are having a genetic disadvantage, can we make a lifestyle change? And small things. Can we sleep a little better? Can we move a little more? Can we do the extra 1,000, 2,000 steps every day? Can we take better breath? So I think it's important that we ensure that we don't pull the lifestyle trigger on a genetically loaded gun of Indians, and we are all thin fat Indians. Unlike our Caucasian brothers and sisters or our African brothers and sisters, we have little extra fat in our body. And that's actually the trigger, because it's going in the wrong sides, like the vessels, the heart, the liver, the kidney. And that's really pulling out all this trigger of the entire NCD spectrum, not just type 2 diabetes, but a little bit of fatty liver, a little bit of heart disease, and cancer, and so on and so forth. So it's important that we can make a change on the lifestyle, so that even if we are genetically disadvantaged, and now we have genomics, we have AI to screen people who are at risk. But even if you know you are at risk, we need to make a change. And who is at risk? Any person who's got a family history positive for type 2 diabetes, or if your waist circumference is more than 90 centimeters for a man, 80 centimeters for a woman, after the age 20, you should start screening. Because for every one person living with diabetes on planet Earth, another person doesn't know that they have diabetes. We don't screen. 50% people don't know that they have diabetes. And in rural India, almost, every third person doesn't know that they are living with type 2 diabetes. And they'll end up with complications. So we need a world free from complications of diabetes. We need to detect it early, and we need to be aggressive, but we can even prevent it. And therefore, I think, though we are disadvantaged genetically, which is your question, I think lifestyle triggers make the change.
Thank you. Thank you, Doctor, for focusing on lifestyle and prevention. Today is World Sleep Day. How many of you have slept for 8 hours? Put your hands up. Hands up. Anyone slept for 8 hours? 1, 2, 3. I can count these numbers. Anyone slept for less than 6 hours? Put your hands up. Okay, not so proudly, just put your hands up. I'm kidding. Let's introduce you to Dr. Manveer. Thank you so much, a sleep specialist and a neurologist. Doctor, I have a question for you. India is increasingly sleep deprived. We can see these repercussions in medical reports. Like, you can look at a report today and tell how much a patient has slept. How serious is chronic sleep deprivation as a driver of disease? And what is the one habit that we should first fix meaningfully if we want to improve our sleep and hence our health?
Thank you so much, Luke. And I think it's wonderful to talk about the disorders or issues which we can come up with the lifestyle modification. And yes, sleep happens to be, we talk about the 3 pillars of health: nutrition, exercise, and sleep, but the sleep specialists say it's the foundation. So if your sleep is good, you will make what is called as good choices for eating, and you will also get motivated to walk. So that's one thing that, we always like to say. Sleep deprivation, and I think he has already given a good demonstration by the number of hands which went up. So less than 6 hours per night on a regular basis is called sleep deprivation. How does it impact the health? And I think we'll start with the younger people. What does it impact them? And then we'll talk about the other issues, because that's more pertinent to them. A lot of people talk about this word which has become very popular called as the brain fog. So it kind of came up during COVID, it came up a lot during post-COVID, and it was thought, is it like a neurological symptom of something called as post-COVID? But we do know that sleep deprivation causes this brain fog. And for the youngsters here, they know, or they understand that word, that basically your concentration, ability to focus, creativity, productivity, everything is impaired. So they say they sit at a workplace, but they're not able, they know that that's not their best that they are performing. So that's one part of it. Second is, which I want to talk about, especially again to this, pertinent to this population, is emotional liability. People are just very aggressive, very angry, very rash, and they can see it that my personality was not like this. So there is something which happens to you when your sleep is not adequate. The emotional centers in the brain, the emotional regulatory mechanisms start failing. So you are spiking off, or we call it a short fuse. Very easily people are sparking. So that's number 2. Number 3 is all the metabolic problems that we talked about. The diabetes, obesity, high blood pressure, strokes, heart attacks, which was shown by the previous speakers about the robotics for the stroke. We have enough number of strokes in our country. So I think there's a very big chunk of the whole metabolic problems. I'll just talk a little bit more about the relationship with weight. So weight, or body weight, as it's become like a big thing now about obesity or the nutrition, is that we make wrong choices, what we eat, and the timing of food that we eat. So we have these 2 hormones which control what we eat and how much we eat and when to stop. Just to say, both hormones have gone haywire. So you tend to eat a lot more, and the message doesn't go to your brain that you are full. So you'll keep eating. And you also want to have, the craving is for these carbs, the ice creams at night, the fried foods at night. And of course, adding to that is our 24-hour supply system. I had a patient yesterday, and the father said, I think every Swiggy person and every Zomato person knows my son. And the son was 120 kg, 35 years old. So I think that's the kind of issues that we are sitting with this sleep deprivation.
Thank you so much, Doctor. Dr. Garvit, cancer is often seen as something random or genetic, but increasingly we hear about lifestyle, inflammation, and environment. How much of cancer risk is actually influenced by how we live?
So, to put it very easy, is that there's only 10% of breast cancer that we are seeing today is genetic. In India, maybe it's a little higher than 10%, and it's about 15%. But rest of the breast cancer that we are seeing in India is technically a lifestyle disorder. It is because of what we are eating, what we are breathing, what we are trying to do, whether we are sleeping adequately or not, how obese we are, what is our exercise level. So these things make a lot of difference in our body's repair mechanism. The cause of all cancer is DNA repair mechanism, which is where we go wrong when we are not doing the necessary things just to keep our body in shape. And it is not, body in shape does not mean pumping iron in the gym. It means a lot more than that. It means a lot, it means whether we've slept adequately or not. It means what we are eating is correct or not. It means whether we've been able to calm our mind and whether we've been able to do whatever is necessary to go through the day in a calm state of mind. And if that does not happen, it increases the risk of all lifestyle disorders, whether it is diabetes, whether it is neurological problems, or whether it is cancer.
Thank you, Doctor. We have to end this amazing panel, but before that, 30 seconds each, you have the whole of India watching you right now. Professor Shilpa, what is that one lifestyle or habit change tip that you would like to give our country?
I guess eat a balanced diet. Make sure the quality of your diet matters, just not the quantity. You know, when you're thinking about carbs or protein or fat, the type of carbs matter, the type of protein matters, and the type of fat matters. Fat is not bad. We all need fat, but the type of fat we consume is important. And we've shown that, you know, when you make small changes, they don't have to be big, they don't have to be dramatic, that can actually reduce your risk for chronic disease in the long term.
That's amazing. Thank you. Dr. Shashank, your one lifestyle tip.
So I think my prevention mantra has always remained universal. Eat slowly, eat on time, eat right, walk more, do physical activity, do yoga, you know, sleep well and smile. And all of us are digitally intoxicated, so do 1 hour digital detox every day.
Very cool. Thank you. Thank you so much. Dr. Garvit, your one lifestyle tip for everyone watching today.
So we have experts from all over the world here, and you will see the common thing between all of us. So to prevent cancer, decrease your weight, have a healthy weight, have a calm lifestyle, and exercise regularly. That's.
Thank you. I see commonalities between everyone's advice. And like I said, we have the knowledge, but we have a lack of action. That's one of our big takeaways for today. Action. Dr. Manvir, your lifestyle tip for the country watching right now.
So I think consistency.
Beautiful.
Consistency is the key. Do not fluctuate, and a relaxed brain at the bedtime. So we are just in this 24-hour society. Too much connectivity is what's creating a problem. People are saying we can't shut the mind. So have a gap, end the day and start the night, and keep it consistent. You will get good sleep.
Thank you so much. This is such an amazing panel. We have top doctors from across the country, flown in from different parts of the world, and none of them prescribed you a pill. And I hope you never need that pill, because you're going to start your new investment, like, you know, SIPs, long-term. It's consistency with your lifestyle changes. Compound. All of you know the power of compounding, right? Just move away from the financial model and make it your health model. The power of compounding. Thank you, doctors. Thank you so much for such an amazing panel. Can we have a warm round of applause for our amazing panel of doctors, please? Thank you.
Well, that was a very interesting and inspiring session, wasn't it? In our segment of Next in Nutrition. All right, now it's time to talk about the soft power of India, and that, of course, is cinema. It's time to turn our focus to the film industry, to the entertainment sector, for our next session, which is Next in Cinema, and to talk specifically about the theme of future of cinema in the era of AI movies. What is going to be the impact of artificial intelligence on films? Well, for that, joining us now for a very special panel is Ms. Medha Jayashankar, award-winning filmmaker and president, Walk Mix by Audio Futures. We also have with us R.S. Prasanna, film director. Joining us also live is Guneet Monga, film producer. She's, of course, made us proud by winning an Oscar. Shri Rakesh Om Prakash Mehra, very well-known filmmaker, also with us on the broadcast. And joining us live to moderate this session, a new avatar for him today, we have with us the co-founder and director of Wizcraft Group, Shri Sabas Joseph. And we are, as NXT is looking forward at the future, this is also a very futuristic session, because our panelists are there physically and they're also there virtually. It's a hybrid session. So for this special hybrid session, I hand the floor over to you, Sabas Joseph.
Good morning, everybody. And just as we walked onto stage, it's good afternoon. So good afternoon to all of you. Good afternoon, Shashi sir. Good to have you here with us. Next represents a thinking and a platform. Right in the heart of NXT is X, which signifies for me crossroads. And I think it's at those crossroads all of us stand, all of us sit, and delighted to be moderating this panel. You've heard panels and panels during NXT this year. I refer to this one as the Rockstar panel because we've got 4 rock stars joining us on this panel, which really means we are redefining not just the past, but we're redefining the present, looking at the future. And Guneet Monga, multiple Oscar winner on this panel. You can look up her entire repertoire of work and you'll realize how blessed we are to have her on this panel today. There's Rakesh Prakash Mehra, fantastic filmmaker, made films and films, Rang De Basanti, Bhag Milka Bhag, Delhi 6, and Bhag Milka Bhag has had us all running for a long time. There's R.S. Prasanna. He's dealt with all kinds of everyday problems, from erectile dysfunction to inclusivity, and made great films out of it, from Shubh Mangal Savdan to the Tamil version which preceded that, and then the recent inspirational blockbuster, Sitare Zameen Par. And then you've got Medha Jaishankar. She really is the symbol for this Rockstar panel. Travels across the world, lives in India, lives in the US, lives in Canada, lives in UK, and through those 4 lives that she lives a life that is one that's made of dreams. The creator of WalkMix, which is a platform and a tool that is redefining 360 degrees spatial audio, filmmaker, story writer, storyteller, all wrapped in one, worked with some of the biggest stars in Hollywood, some of the biggest technicians that are only dreams made of, and Oscar winners there. And she looks like she's jumped out of a Pink concert done by Prince. And the pink is her signature, and she represents all of us here with pink hair downwards. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our Rockstar panel. Put your hands together. My first question to my friends here is very simple. What will cinema look like 10 years from now? What will cinema look like 10 years from now? And I'm going to start with R.S. Prasanna first.
Sabha's opening batsman is very tough, especially, but it's easier when you're opening with a rock star team like this. So, even if you're duck out, you have like really good guys coming up later. So, I don't know what cinema will look like, but I can only tell you that what cinema will feel like. I think cinema after 10 years is going to feel more human. And we're going to go back to basics. There's going to be lots of, like you have AI slop, you'll have a lot of cinema slop, media slop. But I think eventually the cinema that's going to stick is going to be the same old thing. The cinema that tells a story, the cinema that makes you feel emotions. And I think we are living in a world where the Navarasas, the 9 emotions, as we say,
yes,
is even more valued today. So people are going to outsource their emotions to cinema. They say, cinema is going to make me fall in love. Cinema is going to make me feel patriotic. Cinema is going to make me feel like a hero. I think that's already happening because a lot more robotic lives are being led. But Charlie Chaplin made us laugh during the Depression. So it's always emotion. It's going to be always. So cinema, how is it going to look? I don't know. But cinema, how it's going to feel? I think it's going to feel even more human.
Medha, over to you. What's your look and outlook for the next 10 years?
Well, if you look at the history of cinema, it began out in caves in France. You can maybe jump over to Edison, moving images, then sound, then color. And now technology is evolving so fast. I don't know what's going to happen in the next 10 years. But I'm a little biased because I'm in the business of immersive media and in the business of selling tools for immersive media. So if you'd like to join the train for technology, I benefit greatly. But I think the cinema-going experience is going to change a lot because for whoever is listening here, I have no idea who is listening or not listening. Raise your hand if you've been to the cinema more than 5 times this year. Oh, there are only, how many people do you think have raised their hands?
20.
20 or so?
About 20, yeah.
Okay. Well, this gentleman
in a hall
actually,
of 1,020.
This gentleman's last movie was a very, very unique distribution strategy that I think is very relevant for the next 10 years, to get people to watch cinema. And what is the definition of cinema? That is actually the question you should be asking, because is it the traditional going to a theater, or is it me wearing a VR headset with earphones, experiencing the world of Avatar, or whatever the immersive world is? So to answer your question, I think in the next 10 years, cinema is not going to be just one standalone film. It's going to be the film and the world around it, whether it's social media, games that derive from it, TV shows that derive from it, conversations online that derive from it. So it's not just one entity and one piece of IP, it's a whole universe.
Thank you, Medha. Thank you, Prasanna. Guneet, I'm coming to you.
Yes.
You've been the master of borderless storytelling. What are you seeing as the next big change that's coming to filmmaking itself?
You know, I feel the power of cinema, and cinema at large is not going anywhere, you know. There has always been a threat. VCR आ गया, कभी digital आ गया, कभी, you know, film से digital जा रहे हैं हम, कभी कुछ. There's always been this fearful audio आ गया, you know, but the sense of community experience and I think is not going anywhere. I think technology will help us in various aspects of filmmaking to enable us to tell our stories. I am I'm a proponent of technology. I would love to use any technology for distribution, for access to distribution, like, you know, language dubs and getting our piece of cinema from India to around the world. I think I feel the purpose of my life. And at that journey, I dedicate my life to. So I would use technology to double down on any aspect of filmmaking, be it looking at sets, be it looking at how AI can help. But at large, cinema is not going anywhere. It's a much needed cultural connection for all of us to live, eat, breathe. It's not like it's going to die. It will shapeshift. It will always adapt, but it's not going to go anywhere. It's here, the way it is.
Thank you, Guneet. Though you're far away and she's been stuck with some personal pressing matters, despite that, you've taken time out to join us here. Thank you, Guneet. Really appreciate it.
I'm so
Thank
sorry
you.
I was not there.
Missing you.
Yes. Off to you, Rakesh ji. Future audiences are growing up in a world of constant visual storytelling. Your competitor is your audience for every filmmaker. Every Instagram reel is a story. Every film is dying to be made out of each of those stories. Where do you see this going, and how does cinema remain powerful in this new world that has emerged?
We'll have to go to an astrologer to understand the future of cinema, I guess. But as far as my limited view goes, I feel the future will depend on the present. The kind of stories we tell now are going to influence the future filmmakers, the next generation of filmmakers. It's all about storytelling, and it's not about technology shaping it up as such. We'll adapt to that. That's not a problem. Again, the kind of storytelling will depend on the socio-cultural, political, economic, the collective consciousness of the nation and nations as such. How fearful or how fearless the voice of cinema will be now is going to define what's going to happen later. Also, conversations around cinema, I think, have been there. They have died down right now. They will resurface. There will be a resurgence. So the critiques around cinema, the journalism around cinema will play a very important part as to how open the cinema is. And I think the scissors finally will play a big part. It will play a bigger part than AI. So censorship has to be looked into. So these are my views, and I see, like the doctors have spoken before us, I see a generation that is dying to express. I see a generation which is quite angry. I see a generation which is sleeping less. I see a generation which is addicted to the phone. Something will give, and that will reveal the stories, and that will be the future of cinema. I think अभी घड़ा भर चुका है, तो पानी तो बाहर छलके गए. Thank you, Sparks.
Thank you. Thank you, Rakesh. Over to you, Medha. Cinema storytelling is evolving. I'm going back to the way to your answer in technology playing a big role in the storytelling. Interactivity, the lack of the linear narrative, and the interactive narrative being the new story. Can you elaborate more and tell us more as what your experience has led you to believe?
What has the, sorry, I'm trying to figure out what's the best way and for this audience, what I should articulate, this aspect that you're...
In terms of gaming and cinema, how are you seeing interactivity? Are you seeing audiences coming into a cinema theater with their consoles to play with the content and be able to develop their own new narrative? Please go ahead.
You know, it's been interesting. I've been going to film festivals for the last 20 years, so is Guneet, and I think everyone here, actually. And when you go to a gaming conference, it's very, very interesting because it's not just the elite class. It's all sorts of types of people from different socioeconomic classes, different backgrounds. You'll see families, and so many more people than a traditional film festival. I think we're being elitist by thinking that there's a gaming universe that's so small compared to the film world. No, it's massive. It's massive compared to what's happening in film. I think they can coexist. They do coexist to a certain degree, but they will merge much more in the future. I hope that answers your question for this audience.
I think so.
Does anyone play video games here? Can we get a show of hands? Oh, as many people as those who go to the theater.
Okay.
I think you should ask, does any of their children that they know play video games? Then a lot more hands may go up.
Prasanna, to you. Where do you see the inspirational aspect coming in, especially with regard to intimacy versus spectacle?
Wow. You know, when we were scoring the background music for Sitare Zameen Par, Ram Sampath, who's, of course, a wonderful music composer, but a wonderfully, I find him a very beautiful mind. So, in fact, when we were scoring we were doing the background score for Sitare Zameen Par, he said, what you're looking for, Prasanna, is epic intimacy. And you used the same phrase. So, I think the spectacle is very often confused to be scale. But actually, what matters is the person who's there on that flight. Like when you go on a roller coaster ride, right? You have to make sure that the guardrails are holding you in position in safety. So I think, yes, there is the spectacle, but the spectacle is meaningless without consciousness, without somebody, kind of distilling that for you as an experience. So I think what we're looking at is the epic or the spectacle and the intimacy and all of that. I think even if you take a movie like, let's say, Bahubali or an RRR or Rajamouli or a Spielberg, they have this unique ability to place you in a spot of danger or in a spot of massive visuals where you feel small or you're flying. So I think it's experiential. So again, going back to what Medha was saying, taking from video games, from comic books, you see the point of view of a person is so important, right? So I think if movies can retain the personal and take you on a journey through this exotic world, then you have magic.
And sorry, just very quickly to add to a term you used just now, guardrails. In the face of AI, I think it's the wild, wild west right now. And I'm part of an organization called C2PA that's trying to standardize human authentication in the form of creation. So when we as creators create, we can add metadata to differentiate between AI content and human content, and therefore give different royalty rates to human versus AI content. So I just wanted to add that on to what you were saying. We can create that intimacy, and that, yeah, we should talk about it a bit more.
Gurit, this one is for you. AI is a collaborator, AI is a competitor, AI is your partner. Where do you see AI tools helping cinema makers, independent filmmakers and studios move into the future? Faster, slower, or making all of us obsolete? Where do you see this?
I think there is an answer in your question where you say AI tools, and that is exactly what that is. I feel AI is a tool, and we are all figuring how best to use it. I don't think जो यहाँ है, जो अंदर है, वो कोई भी लेके जा सकता है. Forget AI, So there is a sense of value that a filmmaker, a writer, a creative mind, AI is a derivative of information that is fed by human beings. But human beings have a capacity to imagine beyond that. I mean, we have been making robot taking over the world films, I mean, in the West, in the pop culture. So for a very long time, right? And that's, and then the goodness, the bad, the evil, using robots. I mean, from lots of ways of telling stories with technology. And what I'm trying to say is that was also imagined by humans. So AI for me is a tool which can maybe help us innovate distribution. And I'm fascinated about that. AI for me is a tool that can maybe innovate large-scale set designs. I'm fascinated. I want to know more. How authentic they are, how real they are, because our eye will only crave more natural things. There is a sense of plastic and artificial that nobody likes. So the human experience is what only humans can create. So if AI can come into processes, pre-production, production, post-production, what is the process that can be of assistance to creative minds, to creators, is definitely on the table to discuss and to create and to be part of, and how best to use them. So I feel like AI is additive, and it is threatening not for creative jobs, it is threatening for process-oriented jobs, and that all of that we will down the line see.
Okay.
I hope that.
We're going to our last question, and my request to my panelists is to keep it down to 5 words, maybe maximum 10. I'm giving you a statement. Now we've got Shashi sir in the house, so you have to keep it even simpler. Everyone give him a round of applause. Come on. We've got Shashi Tharoor in the house. Let's celebrate him.
And Scott.
The future of cinema will belong to those who. You're filling in the blank. The future of cinema will belong to those who. And we're starting with Prasanna.
The future of cinema will belong to those who continue to be human and continue to be crazy.
The future of cinema belongs to Gen Alpha.
Guneet, to you.
The future is audacious and the future is here. And it belongs to people who dare to dream.
Rakesh, over to you.
10 plus 5, 15 words, yeah. So the future of cinema will belong to the present of cinema, I must say, and the people who will embrace life with all its pop marks will tell better stories.
Wait, what's your answer?
Cinema has constantly evolved. I think cinema will belong to storytellers and the audience. The format you use will keep evolving. We'll move from silent films to talkies, from theaters to streaming, from theaters to home theaters, from cameras to algorithms. But one thing will remain unchanged. The world will always need stories. The question is not whether cinema will survive. The question is, what new form will storytelling take? Please put your hands together for our Rockstar panel, and let's give them a really huge round of applause, not just for those of us in the room, but for the two who are out there on their screens, putting aside their personal challenges to be here with us. Thank you, Rakesh. Thank you, Guneet. Thank you, Medha. Thank you, Prasanna.
Thank you.
Stay awesome. Thank you.
Well, we really enjoyed that session, of course. Future of cinema was the topic, the theme, and of course also, it was also the future of panels that you saw. It was a hybrid mode with half on virtual and half physically in the house. All right, well, we're turning now to our next segment, our next very special segment. Again, this is one of the most awaited segments of the day and of the summit, because now for Next in the Indo-Pacific, we are very happy to be joined by the 30th Prime Minister of Australia, Honourable Scott J. Morrison. They will be talking about navigating a new world order, and in the avatar today of a moderator, we have with us the very erudite Member of Parliament Lok Sabha from Bharat, Dr. Shashi Tharoor. Thank you both for being with us. This will of course be followed by a special address as well, the Guest of Honour's address by the 30th Prime Minister of Australia. So first we'll of course be having the interaction that will be followed by the Guest of Honour's address as well. Dr. Tharoor, I hand the floor over to you for this session. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and delighted to see you all. I'm excited by this entire concept of Next, NXT, and seeing all of you from a large number of countries. I've forgotten the exact number, but it's great to have you here in Delhi. And we're really privileged to have with us the redoubtable Scott Morrison. He was joking to me that now that he's no longer Prime Minister, he's happy to talk about anything. But we're going to focus as much as possible on the Indo-Pacific, which is, of course, an area of great interest to both our countries. But before we got there, I mean, I will call him very respectfully Mr. Morrison, but you all know that he was widely known, even in his own country, as ScoMo. And right. On a memorable YouTube interaction, he demonstrated his proficiency at making ScoMosas. Now, you've got to tell us who taught you that trick.
Well, it was a bit of self-taught, and it's something I've been doing for many years. I actually had breakfast, so it's something I love about Indian culture, and it isn't just cricket and movies and all of these sorts of things.
It's high carb, as you probably know.
It is very high carb, particularly the way I make it.
Well, I'm looking forward to the time when we can share a samosa together, Mr. Morrison, especially one from your hands. But when you're in Delhi, you'll get various and perhaps not of as good a quality as you will produce in the Australian outback. But we've got you here today at an interesting and challenging time in the world. And though we will have to move to the Indo-Pacific, which is where our main focus is, it's difficult to escape the reality of what's going on in the world today. The torrent of drones, missiles, and bombs, which has dominated the periphery of Iran since the 28th of February. Today we're now in the 13th of March. That's 13 full days of conflict that have gone on in the region. Number one, where do you see this heading? And number two, what are the consequences for our countries, yours, mine, and the broader region?
Well, the first point I'd make is, regardless of what plans any of us might have when we're in government, events and opportunities usually come crashing in and will start determining what you might have to deal with more immediately. But that said, what's happening in the Middle East, I don't think is off strategy, particularly from the point of view of the United States. I mean, for more than almost 50 years, what Iran has been doing in the Middle East has at best been a nuisance and worse been terrorising their neighbours and the rest of the world. It is hardly a positive regime, and it is a regime that has threatened everything from oil supplies to the livelihoods and indeed lives of people right around the world, and in particularly in the United States and elsewhere. So the opportunity to be able to degrade and as far as possible destroy their capability to continue to do that is an important objective for which, particularly after the 12-day war, there was an opportunity to do that in partnership with Israel, and that's what we're seeing played out. A window of opportunity has presented itself, and I think the United States, together with Israel, is taking that opportunity. What I think is different to what we've seen in the past, and I know there has been a plethora of narratives that have sat around this particular conflict. But if you look back in the strategy documents of the United States, you will see that there is not a proclivity to want to be engaged in the sort of boots-on-the-ground extended conflicts that we've seen in the past. We saw that, I know it's not the same thing, but in Venezuela, where there was a very quick action, the message was sent, the issue was dealt with. This is a far more complicated issue. It is one involving a far larger regime with a greater military capability. And you will see the United States, together with Israel, seeking to degrade that capability as far as possible and as much as possible up until the point in which further escalation requires them to go effectively off strategy and involve boots on the ground and things of that nature. So while regime change would be desirable, I don't think we can set it up as an objective of success of these strikes. It may well come in the future because of the weakening of the regime, but to expect it to happen within 2 weeks of strikes, well, it'll be the first time that has ever happened in world history. So let's be careful about how we judge the success criteria. I would say the United States, together with Israel, has done more to deal with the menace of Iran than any previous administration.
Fair enough, but Australia has traditionally been a strong upholder of the principles of international law. Surely they've all been breached in initiating this conflict. It's a violation of the Charter, a violation of sovereignty of Iran. There's been this case for so-called preemptive self-defense, but then the Omani negotiators who were meeting at the very time the first bombs fell, they've been saying that the Iranians had already conceded completely that they would not have nukes, they would not enrich, they'd have zero stockpiles, and all they were waiting for was structured sanctions relief from the US, and the deal was about done. Now, if that's true, then preemptive self-defense also doesn't make any sense. How do we justify an unprovoked assault under international law?
I don't think it is true, is the point. And I'm not surprised that that narrative has emerged afterwards. Has been the narrative, and that's been what we've seen in the Middle East for decades. It's throwing a...
This mic, I think, needs some adjustment, folks, because we're losing Mr. Morrison's voice periodically. But yeah, maybe hold it closer, sir. Yeah.
I'll try that again.
No, I think we need a change.
What we've seen in the Middle East, I'm just trying to say...
They're coming to you with an alternative mic.
What we've seen in the Middle East, I think, is the use of international systems, the use of international norms as a cover to enable illiberal terrorist regimes like Iran do what they've been doing. The President of the United States is not an orthodox politician, as we were talking about. And to expect him to be behaving in an orthodox way would be unrealistic. And so where international norms and systems are being used to continue what has been an abominable practice, then how on earth can we support them? How on earth can we support them when, if you go back to October 7 and what Iran was able to support with the worst day of massacre of Jews since the Holocaust in a single day. I mean, if we're talking about a breakdown of the international order, that's a pretty good place to start. And so we are dealing with a criminal regime. And when you put it in that context, then I think the United States sought to broker a deal on nuclear, but the Iranians are never going to give that up. They're never going to give it up. And the President called it out, as did Bibi.
One other question on this is, let's take your point as given. The other aspect of this, Mr. Morrison, is that we all know you can destroy things from the air. You can't build a new government from the air. There was much talk of regime change when this action happened. But they're not able to deliver that. And you've got the son of the slain supreme leader now in his place. What has been achieved with all this destruction? Will you really be able to put an end to this regime just from the air and from these assaults?
Well, I don't think that is the objective. Certainly in the course of the airstrikes, and I don't think it ever was. Its objective was, as they were sitting down to talks, is to have them abandon their nuclear program, to walk away from their ballistic missile capabilities, and to end their support of their proxies in the region who were destabilising. All three of these things had been consistently rejected for decades, including most recently. That was the objective. And what has added to it, quite successfully, was pretty much the destruction of their conventional naval capability, which has occurred. And so what we have seen is the most significant degrading of Iran's military capabilities in any time during the revolutionary regime. Now, regime change would be better, but we know how that would have to be achieved, and that isn't a path that I think anyone would want to encourage the United States to take. I find it a bit odd that in some of the commentary that I've seen, whether in the US or elsewhere, they're almost saying, well, you have to achieve regime change and you have to go in and put some boots on the ground to achieve that, but if you did that, that would be a big mistake. I think it's a very convenient way, and I often see this in the commentary on current administration behaviour, that if it had been anyone else than Donald Trump actually doing this, then I suspect there may be a different way of assessing what the success criteria is. I mean, the President could walk away today, if he chose to, and declare massive victory. The idea that Iran is stronger today than it was a year ago is absurd. It is a deeply weakened state. And that was true before these attacks. How do I know that? Well, you only got to look at the stance taken by Gulf partners when it came to how they may continue to engage with Israel. The idea of the Abraham Accords, for example. I think the Saudis now would see Iran as a diminished threat, and as a result, the idea of a closer relationship with Israel to hedge against Iranian threat, well, that's moved on. Iran is not what it was, and there's one reason for that, and it's still happening now.
It's still happening. Finally, you and I mean, Australia and India, both of us, neither of us is in power in government anymore, but we both follow national policies very closely. We both need trade, and though we're not overwhelmingly dependent on trade through the Straits of Hormuz, we're both significantly dependent on it. How do we shield ourselves and our friends, other neighbors, from the consequences of this ongoing conflict, and do we not have a common interest in seeking it ended as soon as possible?
Well, the short answer to that is yes, and I would think that the end of these hostilities is probably not that far away, and the President has been hinting as much in his most recent statements, and the new Supreme Leader is, I understand, severely injured as we speak. And I suspect both Israel and the United States will seek to maximise what they can continue to achieve in the time that they have remaining. But I think there is a limit to that time. I think it's dangerous to put a specific time on it, because that only shows a hand to your adversaries, and they may seek to wait elements of that out. But when we're talking about things that are going to affect the world for the next 10 years, the Straits of Hormuz could be open in 3 weeks. And yes, that means that in the short term there's been a tremendous impact. But these can rebalance quickly, not immediately, but it can rebalance quickly. And if that happens as a consequence of being able to remove one of the most destabilising elements in the Middle East for a more stable future of the Middle East, well, that's got to be a plus. So, yes, we do, and I'd be shocked if there was no consciousness of this, that the Americans didn't understand that this would have an impact on oil prices. Of course they did. The question is, for how long and to what end, and the balance of assessments about when you cease those operations and go into a different phase.
Right. Well, the prices have been seesawing, as you've seen. 65 before the war, went as high as 120, came down again below 100. We'll have to see, but as you say, it all depends on when it ends, and we'll certainly want to hope, I think, that this happens sooner rather than later. Let me take you back to the Indo-Pacific, and to the region. You've been Prime Minister when in some ways the Quad was achieving its peak. I think the first Quad Summit was on your watch. If I'm not mistaken, there was a sense that all 4 countries were equally committed to an emerging architecture of cooperation amongst us that was interested in keeping the sea lanes of communication open and in preserving a certain strength, a certain force that might, this is where you may correct me, please, that might have been seen by some as an effort to counterbalance the growing menace of China. How would you rephrase that?
I wouldn't.
Okay.
I wouldn't rephrase it. It may not be the public declaration around these things, but undoubtedly the 4 major maritime powers of the Indo-Pacific in constant dialogue from the leader level down, with everything from Malabar exercises to demonstrating, I think, through public good diplomacy and support in the region by democracies. When I was there, it was about COVID vaccines. Today, it's about humanitarian assistance in crises and so on. I think that remains an important part of the Quad. But I think the Secretary Rubio, with Jaishankar and others after the change of government in the United States, has refocused it, I think, well. I think the Quad was getting a little unwieldy, and I think refocusing that agenda with a strong security base, but understanding economic security as part of security, keeping the focus on maritime domain, keeping it on critical minerals and areas and critical technologies where the 4 can work together. I think space is an important area where the 4 bring unique capabilities and contributions, which can be part of that. But it's very important, I think, for the Quad to be meeting again. I think there's been a range of practical and other issues over the past year which has prevented that. That's unfortunate. But I think at a working level, the Quad has busily carried on with its tasks. Foreign ministers have continued to meet. But it is important, having been a founding member of that as a leader, for those leaders to meet. They don't sit there and work over communiques and all the diplomatic tool-making that goes on at a lot of these summits. What they have to do is candidly talk about the issues that are going on now. I think there's the need for a greater focus on the Indo part of the Indo-Pacific. I think the security in the Indian Ocean, the malevolent and growing influence of China in the Indian Ocean is something that means, I think, a great deal. But it also means a great deal to Australia. It means a great deal to the other maritime powers in the Indo-Pacific. So I look forward to that happening. I think it will. I think there have been practical issues that have distracted. Obviously, there have been issues around trade and other things that have diverted leaders' attention, but I do commend India and all the Indo-Pacific countries for the way they responded to that, stayed focused on task, didn't get caught up in a sense of offence, got the job done, and let's get back to the relationships.
But if you were still PM of Australia, how would you react to the indefinite postponement of the Quad Summit by Mr. Trump's failure to agree to attend one that was due in November of last year? You've had 5 summits, I think, or 6 summits, pretty much without any, ever since COVID, there's been a summit every year without any glitch, and suddenly the summit that was due last year never happened because Mr. Trump didn't want to come. And it's still not been scheduled. How do Australia and Japan react to that?
Well, President Biden did the same thing with Australia and pulled attendance at one of those as well. So that isn't the first time that's occurred. And that was because of shutdown issues on that occasion. So, you know, when you're working with the United States, these things happen from time to time. The issue is what is their level of genuine practical interest and commitment to the Indo-Pacific? And when you read their national security strategy and their national defence strategy, the Indo-Pacific and China are almost the unspoken word on every single page. It is clear that they understand that as this region, as the defining region for the future of geopolitics and the world order. And the fact that he would prioritise, as I think he's wise to, the meeting with Xi Jinping, which is in a few weeks, that is providing a very important safety valve for the tensions that are there. I suspect those meetings will stay pretty much focused on things within their red lines, not beyond them. They'll focus on trade. They'll talk about, you know, Boeing jets and sorghum and soybeans and all of that sort of thing, and NVIDIA chips and so on. But on the broader issues, I think that dialogue is keeping a stability. Now, that's an opportunity for the rest of the Indo-Pacific, because whether it's the Quad, indeed whether it's AUKUS from our point of view, whether it is the work that is done bilaterally, I mean, the relationships between each of the Quad partners bilaterally, I think is as important as their combined relationship. And I'll make a few remarks about this later, but Australia worked very hard under my time to take the India-Australia relationship to a whole new level, and that's been maintained. But equally, we did the same thing with Japan. The United States was doing similar things with Japan under several administrations, but I can tell you who drove it. It was Shinzo Abe. And so the knitting together of the network and map of alliances, like-minded partnerships, whether it's the Philippines, whether it's, you know, digital trade agreements with Singapore, whether it just goes on, and ensuring that where you can, you're supporting the strategies we're seeing played in Taiwan to defend themselves, should they have to, then the Indo-Pacific is getting stronger from the point of deterrence, not weaker.
But when you were PM, you endured a bit of a trade war with China. If I'm not mistaken, they tightened up on beef imports from Australia, and you had some consequences. How did you work through that?
We held our ground. We held our ground and said no more. I think one of the issues, particularly in Southeast Asia, is for too long, and this goes back to the Obama administration, when China continued to press out in the South China Sea, turning atolls into installations which are now effectively stationary aircraft carriers. Unless you say stop and unless you say no, then they will continue to encroach. And I think India understands that as well as we do. And that's why I think it is important to collectively be very clear about these things and to hold your ground when you have to. And yes, was there pain? There was. But ultimately, we were able to find alternative markets for our barley, and lobsters got a bit cheaper in Western Australia for people to have at Christmas. And I always thought these things would eventually come down. We took them through the WTO. The following government suspended those actions, but those illegal trade sanctions eventually came off. But you know, I don't think the world can go, and particularly China, can go too long without drinking Penfolds red wine or Grange. The Wuhan Pinot is nowhere as good as what we offer out of South Australia.
All right. Well, look, we are running out of time, and I have one last question for you before you get a chance to lay out your vision of the world to the audience here. And my last question is very simple. How do you see the future of the Australia-India relationship? And I won't talk cricket at all. I'm as much of a cricket tragic as any Australian, but I think we're looking forward to that a little later next year. What do we do politically, geopolitically, commercially, trade-wise, the whole lot?
I'm very excited about the relationship. I was when I was in government, and I was thrilled with what we're able to achieve. I'm thrilled that it continues. I think the nexus between Australia and India is incredibly important, not just for the region, but for the Quad, the relationship with other alliances. And I think Australia is in quite a unique position to both comprehend and work with India. I think neither of us effectively threaten or each other. I think there's an easy relationship. I think there's a lot of overlap in terms of our institutions and these types of things, but increasingly how we look at the region and what the risks are. I think Australia has and continues to show India a lot of respect, understands that we both need room to have this relationship. We have a much closer binding relationship, alliance relationship with the United States. India has a different history with some partners that we would have nothing to do with. But that doesn't mean that disqualifies the closeness of a relationship. And that's what I certainly had with Prime Minister Modi, a very good friendship, similar to the one I enjoyed with the late Shinzo Abe and his successors. You could have a strong relationship, and I think that we have now got an incredibly solid foundation. And, you know, in the past, it was all about cricket and curries. And that's nice, and it's good soft power things, and it's a lot of fun. And I think, you know, India and Australia set the standard in cricket the world over, and the rest just try and keep up with us. And congratulations on the T20. We had a shocker, but, you know, we had a pretty good series with India not that long ago. But I think it has gone well beyond that now. It is now in security, it's in defence, it's in economics, it's, I hope, more in space, it's in supply chains, it's in all of these things. And I think the Australia-India relationship provides an anchor, a very solid anchor for alliances and partnerships in the Indo-Pacific, to which the United States, to which Japan, to which ASEAN and so many others can link to. And so I'd say we're part of the foundation. And that makes me very positive about the future. I'm excited about what's happening here in India, and I think that is going to have a positive flow on for Australia.
Great. Well, I think that's a very positive note on which to, I won't say end, but pause this conversation, because you're in for a special treat. You'll be hearing from Prime Minister Morrison on his vision of the region. He was gracious enough to agree to conduct the conversation first so that I could head off to the airport, and I will be leaving you. But please focus on the larger message which is going to emerge, particularly, I think, taking off from the last portion of our conversation. With those words, thank you very much, Scott Morrison. Enjoyed that. Thank you all for being such a wonderful audience.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Tharoor. And of course, thank you for that session, Honourable Scott Morrison. Dr. Tharoor is, of course, as eloquent in asking the questions as he is in answering them as well. And now, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to invite on stage for the guest of honour's address, the 30th Prime Minister of Australia. Could we please have a loud round of applause for Honourable Scott J. Morrison? He will, of course, be focusing on next in the Indo-Pacific.
Well, thank you, everyone. It's wonderful to be here. Namaste. And to join you here with this very excellent event, and I wish it well for its future. If you spend 5 minutes scrolling the headlines, you could be forgiven for thinking that the world was falling apart. The Middle East is on fire as the US and Israel pound Iran and their proxies day and night. Shipping lanes are cut off, causing oil and gas prices to skyrocket, disrupting economies, threatening food production, escalating already strained costs of living